Hold on. It is honking out there. How is it going, boys and girls? Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome back to Key West Waterman. My name is Aaron Young. Catch you up to speed. It's middle end-ish of December, coming up on Christmas in a week and a half or a week or so. It's been blowing 25, 30, a little more knots for the last, I think, 4 days. It's been raining on and off, and we've got another 3 days of this. I've been doing a lot of stuff in the office, trying to catch up with stuff. It's not often I'm landlocked for this long, so I've been trying to catch up with everything that I could. For the most part, I am getting there, but quite honestly, when you're spend as much time on the ocean as I do, and you just love it as much as I do, you kind of have withdrawals from the salt. So I'm kind of having withdrawals, so I think I need to get in the water. I feel like the salt water is medicinal for me, so I want to do that. I just want to get out and do something on the water. It's, like I said, blowing 35 knots. But something else I wanted to show you is that Key West is such a cool place because no matter, for the most part, unless there's a tropical storm or something, no matter the conditions, there's normally something you can get into. I mean, this is about as bad as it gets. Right now, it's, I think, the worst day we've had. It's blowing, and I'm not kidding, sustained probably 30. It's gusting probably 35, maybe 38. I just want to get out and show you that there is something you can still do no matter how bad the conditions are. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go do a shore dive. I just kind of got to plan. I got to get the wind direction exactly and plan out kind of where exactly I want to go. And we'll get a game plan going. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to get suited up before I do head out because it is actually kind of chilly. It's 70 degrees, blowing 35, so there's actually a little bit of a chill in the air. Anyways, I'm done talking up here. I'm going to see you downstairs. We'll get the gear ready, show you what we need for a shore dive, and kind of get a game plan going. Tuna, what are you doing? What are you doing? You got anything you want to share? No? Okay, what you got in your paw? Just a little, okay, all right. So as you can tell, like I said, it's honking down here. Something I did want to talk about is these mangroves. So when I'm deciding where to go on a day like this, and it's not often I have to do this, or would I do this, go out in these conditions, but I'm kind of having withdrawals. I've got another 3 or 4 days of this, and I could jump in the canal, but why not make an adventure out of it and see if we can go find something to eat. But I wanted to talk about these mangroves. The mangroves are all these trees surrounding the backyard here, and they're all over the Florida Keys. And what's special about them is, one, they can live in salt water. Not a lot of plants can survive in salt water, but what's really cool is the amount of roots that they have. You can see some of these here are a little more isolated, but how thick they get over there. And what that does is it creates an almost impenetrable barrier, and as well as a filter. So maybe I'll stop on the road so I can show you how rough it actually is, but it's blowing 35 knots out there. In the bay, it's probably 2 foot seas, 3 foot seas, and you can see this is open water, maybe 100 yards this way behind these mangroves, and the mangroves just stop all of the wind and the conditions. Out there, it's probably 3 inches of viz. It's milky chalk white water, and in here it's not clear, but you can see the bottom. It just does, the mangroves do a really good job at kind of protecting whatever it is that they're surrounding. So when thinking of where I would like to go today, Tipsy, you're fine, hold on. When thinking about where I want to go today, I want to be somewhere on the leeward side of the mangroves. So the wind today is really hard out of the northeast. Our house is on the southwest side of these mangroves, so it's protected. So when I'm going somewhere to do a shore dive, I want to go somewhere that's going to be on the southwest side of the mangroves. So that's just where my head goes. So I have a couple places in mind that I'm going to go check, see what the water looks like, the tide looks like, and see if it's diveable. But as far as a shore dive, bring all my basic stuff: gloves, mask, fins, and this is pretty much the only other extra thing I bring. And it's my float with a clip on it. That way I can clip it off to myself or off to something if I need. And I'm gonna bring lobster and stone crab gauge just in case. You never know what to expect. But I'm gonna have a spear gun with me. Again, all my basic gear, but because it's kind of chilly, I don't want to get suited up out there in the wind. I'm gonna get suited up here. Unfortunately, I can't show you where I'm going, otherwise we'll ruin some secrets. But I'll see you here shortly. Tipsy's freaking out, she wants inside. I'll see you here shortly, and we'll get in the water, see what we see. So this obviously is not where I'm diving, but I did want to show you what it looks like on the windward side. And I'm inside the bay. I'm in like, I don't know, 8 inches of water, but you can see how much it's like white capping there out there. It is kicked up, completely white, milky water. It is howling. So, as I said, I'm gonna go try and find somewhere on the leeward side of the mangroves, see if it looks any better. Welcome back underwater, everybody. As you can see, it's a little fuzzy. Right where I jumped in, there was quite a bit of current, and it had the water stirred up pretty good. And I'm always amazed at how clear the camera makes it look. This big fish to the left, I didn't even see it until I watched this clip back. But as always, we're gonna talk about just a couple things. And Merry Christmas. You're probably watching this after Christmas. These videos come out about a week or two after they are filmed normally. Just cruising along, and a nice old nurse shark comes and sneaks right under me. Kind of startled me, I'll be honest. I brought the short gun and I mounted it on the underside. When it's murky like this, you get a better view from the front of the gun. And in the shallows, it's hard to sometimes keep my mask underwater. I'm just cruising along the edge of these mangroves, and anytime I get to a spot where I see it gets kind of busy, and what I mean by that is there's a lot of fish kind of coming in to check me out, I just pause and wait. And the mangroves are normally pretty curious, and they'll come in and out and kind of give you shots on them. I sat here for quite a while, and this big one comes up. You can see just for a second there, and once it realized what I was, it hauled butt, and I didn't have an opportunity. And it came back again, and I just wasn't ready. I hesitated and missed a shot there. So I worked down this edge right here on this left side. The current is running that way away from me. So instead of crossing right here and working back, because that'll stir up mud here and the current will take it down, I'm going to swim down, come across, and then work back up. That way I don't stir up a bunch of mud and then murk out that whole edge. And out of curiosity, if anyone knows some type of clam, I see the shells. If you dive around Key West, you'll see the shells of these a ton. I'd never seen one alive and whole, and I'd be curious to know if you can actually eat those. That's the first one in 10 years I've ever found that was still alive. Just decided to leave it be because I didn't know if I could eat it or not. So as the tide kept going out, water got a little cleaner as time went. All of that tide coming in from offshore where everything's stirred up, murked everything out. So as the tide goes out, it got, like I said, a little cleaner. And I'm kind of shuffling through these pretty tight trees, and I'm in kind of an awkward position. And I glance to my left, and a really big snapper comes in, pauses, turns broadside, and I just completely missed it. I was in a little weird angle, and it kind of caught me off guard, and I lined up, and I just took a bad shot. You can see it turns broadside perfect, and I come to the left, and I go down as I shoot simultaneously, and I just barely went underneath it. It actually came back to look at the shaft and was like, what the heck was that? And turned around and skedaddled, and that was that. But as I said, anytime I come to an area where there's a lot of fish, it's busy, I'll pause. I'll try to, snug up against the mangroves, try and be a little bit of camouflage. These fish aren't everywhere. You'll hit waves of them. They'll be in sections or in schools. So when I come up to a school, I try and pause and sit still, like I said. A lot of times the bigger ones will come in early, a little curious, and that'll be your best opportunity. Had a real nice one come in right there, and after that first miss, when you start the day with a miss, it really just throws you off. And I was being a little hesitant and just got in my own head. And there's a couple nice ones here. There's a lot of shooters here. I'm a little picky. I try to wait for the little bigger ones. If I'm going to take one, I want one I'm going to get the most meat off of. Little stone crab doing his thing. started squeezing through some pretty tight areas. You'd be amazed at the fish you'll see in 12, 16 inches of water. And off in the distance here, this is called a Mahara. And I've never showed these before. I have a lot of friends that say they're great eating. I've never personally eaten one. They get anywhere, or they'll be anywhere from small bait size, just a couple inches. I've seen them up to probably 16, 17 inches. And I was having such a tough time with the snappers. I figured, hey, maybe I'll give this a shot. And it took off down one of the other mangrove channels. So I decided I was going to follow it. I'm cruising along. You can see how it shows up right there. It goes back and forth, and I lost track of it again. You can see I'm in about a foot of water, maybe a little more. And I'm sitting here waiting to see if this thing's going to come back. And I look to my right, and I realize it's sitting just to the right of me. And it was kind of at a weird angle. Being a smaller fish, I don't want to run the shaft down it, so I waited until it turned broadside. And that's when I took my shot. And being as shallow as I am, I'm in all the mud. It gets pretty murky pretty quick here. It is really murky. This is called a Mahara. Something a lot of you guys probably haven't seen. They're actually pretty good eating from what I hear. I've never tried them, but I know a lot of the locals that say they eat them. Kind of a medium-sized one, so maybe cook it up whole or something. But I have been on the struggle bus, schooled by these snappers. Just wanted to show you guys how shallow I actually am. Sometimes you got to get caught. You would be amazed at how shallow fish will swim. I don't mind standing on this because I'm just in mud. I'm not on seagrass or anything, but pretty wild. And this video is definitely not one of my top as far as action-packed, but my point was there's always something to do no matter the conditions. I mean, realistically, if my shots would have been on and I wouldn't have hesitated, I could have definitely shot my snapper limit. I just, I don't know, I was feeling just a little off this day. I started, like I said, with a miss, got in my head, and then I started to hesitate on shots. And these snappers, they don't want to be shot. They don't hang around long. They don't tend to give you, too much of an opportunity for very long. I'm cruising along here. This is a section of this area I've never actually been to. I got to some new areas that I haven't had enough water to swim to, and a bigger fish comes in, and for a split second I thought it was a big snapper, and it ended up being a tarpon, and it really had me going for a sec. Just so cool. Something about them. It's just so special being back there. It's just so peaceful and therapeutic, actually. Puts me in a good mood every time. Well, that was an awesome time. If you don't base it off the amount of fish I brought home, I had a spectacular time. I quite honestly dropped the ball on more than a few opportunities. Started out with a miss, and I don't know, maybe I got in my head a little bit. I hesitated on a few shots I probably should have taken, but I never regret going out and exploring. I've been to that area before, but I think the tide was up a little bit, so there were actually a few channels that I found that I had never been down before. Completely enclosed, covered up mangrove channels that just went on for probably maybe a quarter mile or so, maybe even longer. I got quite a ways back in there, and got to find some new stuff, so that was cool. But I ended up with one fish. This is called a Mahara. If you're not familiar with it, they actually get, I don't know, maybe to here. This is on the bigger side of them. I've seen some that are pretty darn big, but they also, you know, some people catch them real small, and they're actually a really nice bait. But I've actually never showed this on the channel. I've never eaten one. I have friends that eat them. I've never personally tried one or cooked one myself. So I actually gutted it, gilled it, scaled it. I'm gonna let it rest for a little while on ice. And it's a smaller fish, so I'll probably end up cooking it whole. But definitely one that I have not shown on the channel. So something you guys will get to see something new, and I'll get to taste one for the first time. And that is our Mahara. Alrighty, I am in the kitchen obviously, and I had a little change of heart. I was gonna cook this fish whole, as I said, and I realized I always screw up fish when I do them whole, and I'm just not that great at it. And it's kind of rainy and gloomy out still. Well, not kind of. It's really rainy and gloomy out still, so I got thinking about something like some kind of comfort food. And I'm a really big fan of using what we have in the house. I don't like going out to try and buy ingredients for these recipes, and I realized we have an insane amount of red potatoes for some reason, and when I think about potatoes, I think about mashed potatoes and gravy. And on a recent trip to New York, I went up there and spent some time with Will, and at his restaurant they had a dish, and I can't remember what it was called, but essentially it was mashed potatoes, some seafood, there was like fish and scallops and stuff, perfect timing, fish and scallops and stuff, and they made some type of gravy that I think they used the scraps to boil down and make the gravy, and it was one of the best dishes I've ever had in my life, hands down. It was comfort, but it had that seafood flair on it. It was unbelievable. So I'm gonna make an attempt at doing something even remotely close to that. I don't have a recipe. I don't know how they did it, but I'm gonna go with what hopefully I would think works, and this may be a terrible disaster. Hopefully it'll end up at least being edible. But first thing I've got going on is oven's coming up to 425. I'm gonna throw these racks and the head and the collars and stuff. There's not a whole lot left on there. I'm gonna throw these in a cast iron and just roast them for a little bit. I want them to char up a little and draw some of that that flavor out, and then we're gonna take what's left from, or we're gonna take what's out of the pan and move it over, and we're gonna make a stock out of it, or a broth. So that is our first step. I've got scraps in the cast iron going into the oven at 425, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on it and see what it looks like. I may end up throwing it on broil, but I'll keep you posted. All right, so there's not much there. I don't want to pulverize this. I actually switched it to broil pretty quick because I also don't want to turn the meat into powder. So I just wanted to roast it and get like a little bit of a roasty flavor before I throw it in our broth. And it actually smells great already. I didn't even put anything on it. Get all the little crispies you can out there. So in this pot, I've just got water, my scraps. I'm gonna throw just a diced up onion and a head of garlic. And I've got that up to a boil. And I'm just gonna let that simmer for probably about an hour. It's more like an hour-ish. This is our broth. You can see in there a little bit. We're just gonna run this through a strainer. Got my potatoes coming up to boil. Just let all that drip. I want all that stuff to come out of there, all those flavors. Oh well, you can see that. It actually looks nice and brown already. Whew, it smells good. Alrighty, I know Will, if you watch this, you're gonna be so mad, but I'm gonna use packaged gravy. I don't know where it came from, and I don't like to waste stuff, so we're using packaged gravy. But I know I'm gonna piss some people off, so that's what we're doing. We are getting there. We got our mashed potatoes and gravy ready. The gravy's actually okay. I know it's out of a packet, but it has a little better flavor than it would have just with water. But here's our fish. I'm just doing salt and pepper. I left the skin on, and I dried these off pretty good. I can never get the skin to stay on. If there's a trick to that, someone please let me know. But I wanna, oh, it shrunk pretty good. I want to try and make this a little, well, that didn't work. I wanted to try and make it crispy so it had a little bit of a crunch, but it just curled right up. That did the exact opposite of what I was hoping for. Trying to make that skin crunchy, but it literally curled. I don't know if you're supposed to keep the skin cool or room temp. For some reason I thought you wanted it room temp, but that did not work. Oh well, what can you do? You live and you learn. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Ooh, it's
all right,
smoking.
so keep in mind, I cheated. I used packaged gravy, but I made the broth. So instead of using water in the packaged gravy, I made the broth out of the fish scraps, just to give a little bit of flavor. And the fish was pretty mild. It didn't have a ton of like fat. I think if I were to do it again, I would probably use a grouper for the gravy.
So it's fattier?
Yeah, it's fattier. It's a little more rich. I mean, it's gravy. You want it to be packed with flavor. So, and I fully realize that I'm not going to get any of the actual fish taste here, but I'm gonna try.
Eat this one piece without anything on it.
Whoa.
Whoa. That's a really good flavor.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually great.
Why did the skin do that?
Just a white, I don't know. Will always tells me it's either room temperature or cold. For some reason I thought it was room temp, but I had it room temp and it shriveled right up. So get some fish, some gravy, and all the...
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, movie.
Ooh.
Mmm.
You got a little skin.
A little, I'm gonna get a lot.
Ah. Mine was a little crunchy. It wasn't as crunchy as I'd like it. And again, I know it's packaged gravy, but it's actually, it does have a better flavor once I added that in there. For obvious reasons. That's pretty good. I would love to get Will in here and refine this the proper way, like an actual chef. And I probably could have added like maybe some onions or mushrooms or something.
Ooh, like crispy onions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great execution for a random afternoon meal idea.
Yeah, and usually what I had. I just found that packet of gravy and I just couldn't waste it. I can live with that.
I can eat this.
I mean, it's mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah, I'll just take all of this over here.
But that is all I have on this one. We're not going to see this till after Christmas. Do you have anything you want to tell them?
Happy holidays, guys. Oh, after Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
So all of it.
Yeah, happy holidays.
That is all we have. Appreciate you tuning in and coming along. Appreciate the support. I think that's all I have. I feel like I was supposed to share something. I'll share it next time. We'll see ya. Not bad.
No, it's good. The mashed potatoes are good too.
It's not what I had in New York, I'll tell
They're
you
not
that.
my mashed potatoes, but they're
They're
good.
definitely not your mashed potatoes. I don't know how to work that thing.